What do you think the city should do to improve the business climate in Mesquite? And what are your thoughts about the Mesquite Regional Business Organization?
As far as what the city should do, we've got to do a couple things. Again, we've got to eliminate the paperwork mess and getting in. That's part of it, and permitting and licensing and so forth. That helps. That's not the panacea because it's not going to bring people flocking in. I think we need to work with the Mesquite Business Organization that's been formed. Not to run it because that wasn't our intentions in the first place. To give them pretty free rein, but to make sure that we're all on the same page with this, so that if they're talking to a corporation business someplace, they know what they can offer that business on behalf of the city of Mesquite. Not come back and say, by the way, we've got a business coming here, what can you do to make it better for us? And I think that's what we need to do. When the economy picks up, they'll be here.
Okay.
Along those same lines, there was a recent business summit on January 28th, and Corey Clementson and Greg Lee discussed the core industries in Mesquite as golf and gaming. What do you think are the core industries for our city, and what would you recommend the city do or not do about core industries?
Well, we have to support the core industries because they're the largest employers right now anyway. As far as developing new core industries for Mesquite, I don't see anything on the horizon as far as industry goes of any large size because we don't have the rail lines, we don't have the natural gas. We do have Highway 15, which is wonderful, and you can transport by truck, but we're not going to get huge corporations coming in here right now because we're lacking certain infrastructure. I think we are a golf destination in many respects. We're also a gaming destination. We're also a youth sports destination. And we're also a retirement community where people would care less about any of the activities that take place.
Okay. Give us your thoughts about how you think the redevelopment agency remaining funds should be used.
There's a good one because we have an RDA meeting next week. I expected more businesses to come up looking for funds right now, and they haven't been. It could be because they've got to come up with funds first and they get reimbursed, and it's a little bit difficult when you don't have any money to start with. There isn't a lot of money. When you think about what we had and what we do have now, it's not going to go real far, but I think it can be used to develop some or modernize some of the business we have now in town if they come in and approach it. As far as building anything new with that amount of money, it's not going to go very far.
Along that same thought, there's been a lot of talk about doing something to improve the downtown district. What would you recommend the city council do to improve the downtown business district?
Well, I had mentioned it once before to City Council indirectly that we need to get a business summit going with the people that own all these businesses in the downtown and start getting more input from them would make it more business friendly. When you look at the strategic business plan that was drawn up here a couple of years ago, they talked about making it walking friendly. Well, of course it isn't, and it would be very difficult to do right now. Everything's so spread out. But we need to clean it up. I spoke before the City Council 5 years ago about blighted buildings in the downtown, and we still haven't done anything with it. And of course the blame usually falls on the council. Why don't you guys get out? Well, we don't get out and do that physically ourselves. We've got to get cooperation from the businesses that want to improve their businesses.
Well, let's follow up on that a little bit and kind of pair that up with the recent Pilot Flying J project. Not that project in particular, but perhaps it as an example and others like it. And what you were just speaking about with the downtown district. How do you balance the business concerns with the public concerns? And in terms of economic development, how do you convince those business owners to do that? because there is a line between private business dealings and with other private businesses, and there's a line that government has as far as what they can do and force private businesses to do.
Well, let's use Flying J as the example, and
Okay.
that's the one I'm most familiar with. Okay, here you had a situation of a private corporation, Mesquite Gaming, wanting to sell a piece of property which was owned fully by them, no tax liens on the property or anything else. They paid large sewer taxes, they paid property taxes. They felt they wanted to get rid of that property. The problem was, as I see it, they were asking a tremendous amount of money for that piece of property, which would have had to have been completely redone, of course removed and then completely redone, before anybody else could put anything else on the property. And economically, to me, it made no sense. Now, there were people that said, well, look at, if that doesn't work, we don't want to lose this corporation, let's offer them city property. Well, that's not legal. We're interfering with a private business transaction, and it doesn't work well. And again, it's not even a legal venture to do. So you've got to let some of that just take its course. Would it have been a good idea for Mesquite Gaming to sell it for less? Would it have worked? It might have. But we know that they had a lot of money into that property to start with, or at least the prior owner did, and he wasn't about to give it away. And I think it didn't make good economic sense. Will companies like Flying J come back? Yeah, because there'll be some property, and if they come back, let's say in 2 years, and it's city property on exit 118, the price will be, I'm sure, very, very attractive for them, and they or some other company will probably move in. But the way it was situated, and I'm not against the truck stops whatsoever, it wasn't a good economic deal, and I think somebody on their corporate level figured that out.
Okay.
Okay, how about give us your thoughts on the proposed noise ordinance and the medium that must be struck between business needs and residential needs. How would you do that?
Well, I was sent down last week to one of the individuals' homes to do a little negotiation on part of the city council, because he said he would trust, that individual said he would trust me, and he didn't want to see anybody else walk in his front door, literally. And we did make a compromise on several of the issues that were on the original draft of this noise ordinance. And it's a very interesting situation, because you've got residential, you've got industrial, you've got commercial, and then you've got some portions of the town that are a combination thereof, because they border almost directly on another zoning area. There's no buffer space.
Yeah.
And I've had long conversations with the parties involved in this, and I think we're coming to an agreement. Are we going to please everybody on this? And the answer is going to be absolutely not. Okay, it can't be done, because somebody is going to want absolutely no noise, somebody else doesn't care, the third party says I have to make a living and I need to, whatever I'm doing, create a certain amount of sound. I think we're very close on an agreement. We need an ordinance. I'm not overly enamored with this ordinance. To start with, it's 16 pages in length from start to finish, which is overwhelming. I did ask the chief of police how many prosecutions we've had on noise in the last year here, and the answer, I believe, was 0, because it's such a subjective thing. People are, for the most part here, are extremely cooperative, and I talk to the police and they say, well, can you please turn down your sound? And it's usually, absolutely, I'm sorry. And it won't happen again, and everything works fine, and everybody shakes hands, and that's fine. If it doesn't, of course, you have disturbing the peace incidences. We'll probably pass an ordinance shortly. Again, I think it will be worked out as well as possible, so that we do please as many people as we possibly can. And again, I know from my past experience now, in 2 years on the council, or almost 2 years, that we're not going to make everybody happy, no matter which direction we go. So we've got to meet the line for the maximum number.
Yeah.